Well, 8:36 now, 8:37 on the dot at this time. Some law enforcement officers in Lawrence County are getting accolades this morning for doing their job well.
But the community will bestow the title of Officer of the Year to one of those nominees. And Fox Carolina's Myra Ruiz, she's live in Clinton right now. Myra?
Yes, good morning. We're at the Piedmont Technical College campus in Clinton, and that honor just went out moments ago, and we have the new Lawrence County Officer of the Year here. He is Lieutenant Timothy Bird with the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. Congratulations to you. Tell us, how much of an honor is this for you?
It's numbing. It's shocking. The other two candidates, they could very easily won.
Yeah. I know you went into law enforcement to follow in your grandfather's footsteps. How rewarding has this career been?
Right now, I'm still shocked. No, I'm extremely proud. I'm just trying my best to live up to him.
Yeah, and Sheriff Hobart Lewis of the Greenville County Sheriff's Office was talking about all the difficult things you guys face. You really have to have grit, right? What has been the most challenging part of the job for you?
Just not being complacent, getting up every day with a fresh new attitude, trying to put on the best for the community.
Yeah, and I know you said sometimes it's difficult to you get very tied up. It's easy for your emotions to take hold, right? What do you have to do in those scenarios?
Sometimes you got to step back, just take a breather, just take a second, just remember, regain your composure. I mean, thankfully for me, I have experience, I can adapt, and just treat everybody like you want to be treated.
Life is tough for a lot of law enforcement officers in other parts of the country, especially. What is it that keeps you going every day?
The next man beside me, co-workers. With each one of us doing our part, we make the other one better. Family. Not to mention, like I say, I try to fill in the big shoes of my granddaddy for what he done when he used to work at this department.
Well, congratulations to you. That is Lieutenant Timothy Bird with the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. We'll show this right here. But again, he was talking about how he was in a field. He was honored to be part of several people nominated. We caught up with him when he was making a pretend arrest last week during a fundraiser for the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. But also nominated was the Sergeant Casey Jones with Lawrence Police Department. He told us, it is a tough job. He's missed a lot of birthdays and didn't get a lot of time to spend with his family while he was on the job, but it has been very rewarding knowing he's making a difference in the community. And we also caught up with the third nominee, who was School Resource Officer David Lawless with the Clinton Police Department. He says it's also been great having a career in public service. He actually started off in the military and found it to be a natural transition to become a police officer. But again, all the accolades going to Lieutenant Timothy Bird with the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. He is now the 2023 Lawrence County Officer of the Year. Reporting live in Clinton, Myra Ruiz, Fox Carolina News.